the first seal begins to open, you're going to see the image of a white horse. And it talks about the conquest, and it's also talk about the appearance of the Antichrist. So the rider with a bow and a crown symbolizing the conquest or the deception. And you are also going to see that at the same time, this prophecy also go together or parallel with the book of Matthew chapter 24 when Jesus talked about the signs of the end time. So you can check with that, but you see here the Bible said in Revelation chapter 6 verse 1, I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the seven seals. Then I heard one of the four living creatures say in a voice like thunder, come. I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. Now the image that you and I are going to see is that the white horse. And of course you are going to see the black horse, the red horse, and some people try to identify the color of the horse together with some of the religions of the world, but in which I do not think that would be suitable to explain like that. But it's just simply that you can, I will begin to see when we talk about the white horse, then you and I are going to see the conquest. It's the representation of the conquest or the coming of the Antichrist at the beginning of the Great Tribulation. So at the moment, I explained to you that there are a lot of false Messiah. There's a lot of false prophets. But there would be no prophets or false prophet or false Messiah at this moment that have the great charisma that can deceive almost the whole world. Only it will happen at the Great Tribulation, and which is the coming event. It has not happened yet, but I share together with you one of the signs that you and I can see that the Great Tribulation begin to take place is when the third temple in Jerusalem being rebuilt. And when the third temple being rebuilt, and then the Antichrist will come, at that time we know very clear that is the time of the Great Tribulation. So today, the third temple have not been rebuilt yet. So we are still waiting, but it could happen anytime. It could happen within a month or a year or maybe 2 years, we never know. But this will come, and during this time of the first seal, we are going to see the Antichrist will make a peace covenant with Israel. And we call it a false peace because there is no real peace. They just want to pretend to be kind to Israel, to make a peace covenant with Israel. But after that, after 3 years and a half, they begin to break that covenant. But during the first seal, you are going to see that the Antichrist will make a peace covenant according to the biblical prophecy. So you see that one of the things that is really amazed millions of people in the world is that the Bible can tell the event that would happen 1,000 years later. Could you imagine that? What does it say? It says that our God is still in control of the universe, and everything is still in His hand. And that's why you and I would not be afraid or threatened or shaken, even regardless of whatever the things that happen in this world. We see that the third temple will be rebuilt during the first seal. And then the Israel is falsely secured in the third temple, rebuilt on Temple Mount. And of course, we are going to see that the Jewish possession of the third temple will be for only a little while, according to the prophecy in the book of Isaiah chapter 63, verse 8. So, a little while, meaning to say about 3 years and a half. And especially during this time, you are going to see that the daily sacrifice being conducted in the third temple. So, for some of you who have not followed this series, so maybe it's a lot. But this is just a recap for us to remember. And today, the good news for you and I is that the sacrifice, the daily sacrifice practices have been performed for many years right now. So the Temple Institute in Israel have selected the Levitical priests and the staff and trained them how to carry out the daily sacrifice. And even recently in July that you have heard about the offering of the red heifer as a practice. It's not the real one yet. But when the real one happens, then immediately the temple will be rebuilt. So you and I can see that the event would not be very far from us. Maybe in our lifetime. Of course, I don't know about that one, right? I just guess. But we can see it's very, very near. So within this, the first seal happen, you are going to see that even the Antichrist make peace covenant with Israel. But at the same time, we see the great conquest that happened all over the world. So meaning to say, it is not a time of peace, but it is a time of war. It's only peace only for Israel alone. So that's why the Apostle John said, he said, as the Lamb opened the first of the seven seals, and then he said, there before me a white horse, and his rider held a bow, and he was given a crown. So meaning to say, you are going to see the establishment, the recognition of the Antichrist as one of the most powerful global leaders of the world. And they are riding on the horse, and white, usually the white color we usually associate with righteousness. So the Antichrist at the beginning also pretend themselves very good. They are good, they are kind, they are loving, they are righteous, they show all kind of the good virtue in order to deceive the people, to win the heart of the people first. But you see that they are having a bowl, and a bowl later on when we learn in the book of Revelation, it talks about the judgment. So they have the judgment, hence they have the evil intention in their heart, in their mind, and in their hands. But they pretend to be very, very righteous. You see that sometimes when we look at certain people, we may not know exactly who they are. We can guess, right? Sometimes we can guess, but maybe we don't know because the heart of people is hard for us to fathom. Maybe they can be very, very good at the beginning, but later on you can find out that person is, we don't want even to talk about it. Now let me tell you one example. In our church before I was deported in our church, and before I was being arrested because as the religious persecution, there was a lady who came to our church. And this lady, middle-aged lady, and when you look at her at the first impression when you saw her in church, is very, very dedicated person, very religious person, or we can say this is a very spiritual person. You know that she prayed very powerful in the church, right? And then during the worship, you can see that she raised hand, she worshiped the Lord as if she's so good Christian. And she came to me and she said, Pastor, I want to serve in the church. But from our experience, and we always give them a time, but of course that the Spirit many times also remind us. So we just observe this lady first. So I didn't allow her to serve first, but just joining the service at the beginning. So you can see that she came to the church very early. And you know that in our church, we usually have 2 services or 3 services. And this lady, basically, morning service and afternoon service, she was there all the time. Most of the time, you can see she was there. But on the day when 40 policemen came and arrested me right there on the pulpit, do you know what happened? To make the story short, when we was being arrested, usually the policemen would call every one of us to present to them the ID. So the policeman, they will begin to write down all of our information, our name, our telephone number, and our address, right? So, and everyone will take turn one by one and do so. This lady was also there on that day, but she was the last day. She was the last person be in that room. After all of the believers being present to the police and give all the information, all of the believers left. She was the one left inside together with police. And this is what she did to the police. She went to the policeman, she shook the hand and she said, "Good job being done. Congratulations." What does that mean? And how do we know that? We know that because on that day in the south room, you know that in the south room, when you look at the glass, you can see through inside, right? And one of my co-workers were hiding inside the south room. And as the policeman just come and see, oh, no one there, so they didn't go and check very carefully. So she was there, and she was the one who witnessed and saw this lady just laugh and talk with the police because she was one of them. She was sent as a spy in order to report what are the things that happened in our church, what are the things that I talk, I preach through, I go against the government, as you can see, as a spy. So you see that sometimes that just like the Antichrist, the devils is also very smart. They usually use deception. And if you and I are not very careful, you and I may fall into the trap of the devils. If I let that lady to serve in our ministry earlier, then will be a lot of people will be arrested as well. Because she will know all of our co-workers, she will know about our operation. There are many things, of course, they know, but there are certain things we can only talk among the key co-workers.